In a world woven with the threads of technology, our phones offer connection. Yet they often serve as gateways to unfathomable horrors. As we delve into these chilling tales, remember, sometimes the simplest calls can lead to the darkest paths. Our first story begins in the quaint, sleepy town of Oakwood, where a young woman named Lily lived a life full of dreams and aspirations. One fateful night, as the rain pattered against her window, she received a call from an unknown number. Initially, Lily felt a rush of excitement, thinking it might be a friend playing a prank. With a playful smile, she answered. But the atmosphere quickly shifted when she heard the heavy, labored breathing on the other end. It sent a chill down her spine, and her heart raced as she strained to make sense of the situation. "Who is this?" she demanded, her voice trembling. Finally, the caller spoke her name, an eerie familiarity sending shivers through her, as the voice detailed her evening, mentioning her favorite coffee shop, her recent visit to the park, and even the fact that she had just finished a phone call with her mother. Lily's excitement morphed into dread. She hung up and dialed the police, only to find out that the caller ID was untraceable, and her reports were dismissed as a prank. Days turned into weeks, but the calls didn't stop. The voice grew more menacing, recounting every detail of her life that no stranger should know. The cops suggested changing her number, but the very thought sent her into a panic. It was as if this phantom figure thrived on her fear. One fateful night, the voice instructed her to look outside, gathering every ounce of courage. Lily peered through her curtains and saw a dark figure standing under the street lamp, staring directly at her. Her heart raced as the figure began to move toward her house. Terrified, she backed away from the window, her heart. When she looked again, the figure was gone. The following morning, when the police arrived, it was empty, the only clue a single shoe left on the front porch. The townsfolk would whisper of Lily's disappearance for years, her voice echoing in their memories as a warning that sometimes the fear of the unknown is more terrifying than the reality. Our second haunting tale unfolds in the vibrant city of Los Angeles, where a man named Tom was living a life filled with excitement and ambition. One late evening, while he was wrapped up in work at the office, he received a call from his estranged brother, Mark. Their relationship had been rocky, filled with years of distance and unresolved issues. As Tom answered the call, Mark's voice dripped with panic, an urgency that sent shivers down Tom's spine. "I need you to come home, Tom. I think I'm being followed," Mark whispered, his voice trembling. Concerned, yet skeptical, Tom decided to put aside their differences and help his brother. Driving through the bustling city streets, as shadows danced in the corners of his mind. Upon arriving at their childhood home, Tom noticed the eerie silence that enveloped the house. The front door stood ajar, creaking softly in the wind. Calling out for Mark, Tom felt a deep sense of foreboding wash over him. As he stepped inside, a chill swept through the air, sending shivers down his spine. He called out again, and finally found Mark huddled in the basement, pale and visibly shaken. "It's too late," Mark whispered, glancing over his shoulder with wide, fearful eyes. Just then, a guttural growl echoed through the darkness, freezing Tom in place. He turned to see a shadowy figure looming behind him, its presence suffocating and malevolent. The last thing Tom heard was the chilling sound of his brother's screams, echoing into the darkness. Hours later, the police would find Tom's car abandoned outside, but Tom and Mark were never seen again, leaving behind only memories of their fractured relationship. The third story takes us to a small rural town, where a beloved teacher named Mrs. Thompson dedicated her life to nurturing young minds. One fateful evening, while grading papers, she received a call from a frantic parent, a mother whose son had gone missing. The mother's voice was laced with terror as she explained that her son had mentioned seeing a strange figure lurking in the woods before he vanished. Mrs. Thompson, filled with concern, assured the mother she would do everything possible to help. When she hung up, the mother's voice shifted dramatically from pettiness, declaring, "You have no idea what you're getting into," before abruptly ending the call. Confused and frightened, Mrs. Thompson decided to investigate the woods herself, armed only with a flashlight and her determination. As she ventured into the darkness, the sounds of the night enveloped her, making her acutely aware of her isolation. Hours passed as she called out the boy's name, her voice echoing in the stillness. When she finally stumbled upon a clearing, she found an old tree adorned with disturbing carvings, faces of children etched into the bark, their expressions frozen in terror. The moment sent a chill racing down her spine. It was then that her phone rang, and to her horror, it was her own number calling. She answered it, only to hear her own voice echoing back, whispering, "You shouldn't have come here." Panic surged through her as she turned to flee, but the woods twisted around her, making it impossible to find her way back. Shadows danced just beyond her vision, and giggling whispers surrounded her, echoing in the night. Just as she thought she was escaping, she felt a cold hand grip her ankle, pulling her into the darkness. Mrs. Thompson was never seen again, and the community mourned her disappearance, haunted by the laughter of children echoing in the woods. Our fourth story brings us to a Tech-savvy college student named Alex, known for his pranks and a healthy sense of humor. One fateful Halloween night, he decided to prank call his friends, excitedly dialing number after number. However, one call changed everything. A mysterious voice answered, laughing eerily, and declared, "You think it's funny to scare people?" Alex's laughter faded as he realized this wasn't a prank. It was something far more sinister. The voice grew more aggressive, revealing personal secrets Alex had never shared, dredging up memories that sent chills down his spine. Terrified, he hung up, convinced it was some twisted joke, but the calls didn't stop. Each time he tried to disconnect, the voice returned with more taunts, each more disturbing than the last. Alex's friends dismissed his fears, chalking it up to Halloween madness. But as the days went by, the voice's threats became more personal, echoing in the quiet corners of his mind. In a desperate attempt to escape, Alex turned off his phone, unplugged his landline, and tried to shut out the world. Yet, the calls continued, now infiltrating his dreams, warping his reality. The last straw came when he received a call from his own number. He answered, breathless, and heard the voice whisper, "You can't escape me." Panic gripped him, and as he ran to the bathroom, he caught a glimpse of something horrific in the mirror shadow lurking behind him. Alex vanished without a trace, and his friends were left grappling with the chilling knowledge that the last call they received was the very last link to a once vibrant soul. Finally, we delve into the poignant tale of David, a man who had always found solace in his family's bond. However, a heated argument with his father had severed that connection, leaving wounds that festered in silence. That fateful night, David received a call from his father, but the voice on the other end was weak, frail, and filled with desperation. "I'm sorry for everything," his father pleaded, tears echoing through the phone line. "Please, just come home." Overwhelmed with emotion, David promised he would visit in the morning, eager to reconcile their differences. But as he hung up, a chilling whisper brushed against his ear, a voice he had never heard before, warning him to stay away. The next day, driven by guilt and anticipation, David rushed to his father's house, only to find it surrounded by police. Confusion settled over him, as officers explained that his father had died just an hour after their call. Shock washed over David, and a sense of dread filled the air as he stepped inside, only to find his father's lifeless body slumped over the phone. The echoes of their last conversation hung heavy in the air, drowning him in guilt. Just then, his phone buzzed, revealing an incoming call from the same unknown number that had whispered to him before. With trembling hands, David answered, and the chilling voice echoed through the room, whispering, "You should have listened." In that moment, David's screams filled the empty house, but the only response he received was the sinister laughter of a force far beyond his understanding. These stories are a haunting reminder that the simplest connections can spiral into unimaginable horrors, revealing the darkness that lurks behind the screen. Sometimes, it's not just a phone call, it's a portal to the fears we keep hidden, the darkness that lies just beyond the reach of our understanding.